You know what? I'll tell you what we'll do. Hey, you know when the feel bads are around your game or in your game because they're necessary for the setting, make sure that you don't acknowledge the feel bads. Battlefield 2042 says the climate apocalypse and refugee crisis are only in the game for gameplay reasons, not for social commentary.
There is no goddamn way that describing the refugees has any gameplay viability at all. Like, it just falls on its face completely flat.
It's the reason why it's the crowd of people running in front of you while you're having your fight.
Yeah, unless on the maps there's like a swarm of tired and hungry people that you have to drive your tank over. No, it doesn't. Like, that's flavor, which means like,
yeah. So they now here's the thing, right? As we enter this insane fucked up world where all of this shit becomes more and more real to the point where it makes Hideo Kojima sad, because when he comes on to talk about the new Death Stranding director's cut, all he can talk about is, hey everyone, I'm sorry for predicting the world so right. I'm sorry for being so right so hard. I'm going to have to try to change how I make games from now on because Death Stranding hit too close to home.
there's a weird element of like God complex when he was talking about that, because it's like it always like, I'm sorry for causing this.
It was crazy. It was fucking crazy. I couldn't believe it. You know, because it's like, yes, Genius Kajumbo has been right about many things over the years. And he specifically referenced 9/11 for the second time, you know, when he's describing this. And he's like, I'm going to have to basically think about how I tell stories from now on, because he feels bad about how close to reality they all ended up being.
Too real, bro.
And it's just like, well, I guess then we're going to gumdrop land, you know, for his own comfort. But
I don't even know what that means.
I have no idea. I like just, you know, like whatever, as far away from reality as possible, because the isolation and then 2020 just were like fucking hand in hand on Death Stranding. It was nuts. Personally, I fucking applaud that shit. I think it's incredible, but he felt bad about it, right? So all this to say that, like, when your game approaches reality in this weird dystopian way, and you decide to pull a David Cage and talk about how nope, it's just questions. Who knows what it's about? Which is the setting, right? There's a climate apocalypse happening, but don't worry about it. It's just, here's the quote, it's definitely purely a multiplayer game for us. We decided to go this route so we could create a narrative in the world through the eyes of the no-pats. Of course, there's the fucking, yeah, you had your bit with that, of course. PMCs rolls off the tongue a little bit nicer, I suppose.
It felt fucking weird to wake up to that. Like, that was
a joke, like, about you not being there and not existing was weird to wake up to, was it?
No, not about not existing. Though I do understand what you mean, and that is weird. About being denied entry into like the planet. It's like it's an era of no pats. Like, oh geez. Right. I'm sorry.
So you know, so credit to this is it's an IGN article that was written about this for Battlefield 2042, and the person who wrote the article correctly points out that, like, so this happened with like Far Cry before and all these AAA games, and like there's always going to be a level of don't touch on the no topics, even though it's obvious what we're talking about, lest we get John Cena'd. It's going to become
John Cena.
Yeah, or the fist in fucking whatever the fucking Ubisoft game was. It's going to become clear that, like, you're not going to refrain from using clearly political commentary. You're just going to refrain from acknowledging it, and you're going to then essentially say that like we're just taking inspiration from this for gameplay purposes. And as the article points out, what's fucked up about that is the idea that like you can see all of these like wild and crazy like misery apocalypse filled futures that are just around the horizon coming, but you're only fascinated in the aesthetic of how they look for the next map of your multiplayer mode. Like
I think the goofiest
you have
thing
you have 2020 clear eyes on what's around the corner, and the only thing you're thinking is, man, that would be a really cool fucking set piece.
There's I don't know if you saw, but there was a slight update to the shenanigans with Far Cry 6, and Ubisoft says Far Cry 6 isn't political, which was kind of amazing.
What's the update?
Because they were doing an interview, I want to say it was with IGN, in which they said, oh, it's not political. And then the articles come out that it's like, well, this game features communist dictatorship, it features fascism, it features ethnic cleansing, and it features slavery, and Ubisoft says it's not political, which then became Ubisoft has nothing to say about whether or not slavery is good or bad.
Right.
And then the director of the game, like a couple days later, just finally did it. He's like, "Of course, it's political.
Yeah,
It's of course we're using this. It's not about Cuba specifically, but there's a lot of themes." And it's like, finally did it. All you had to do was put fucking Yves Guillemot's face next to the words, "I don't know about slavery. Maybe it's a good idea." And finally, they go, "Oh, okay, fine." Fine.
And just to put out there, because I feel like almost like you pretty much have to, obviously, clearly, for anyone who can't parse this, any game can choose to make social commentary or not social commentary if they want to, if that's their decision, and there's nothing wrong with going either way on it. You can go all in or you can go all out. It's a medium. You can do whatever you want with a medium, right? When you choose to do it and then back the fuck off and pretend you're not doing it, don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Fuck you. It's clear. So that's the difference. It's not the choice one way or the other.
Dude, it's raining though.
It's fucking pouring outside.
It's super. Ooh, here's the thunder. Oh
Dreads
no!
absorb
It's
the
hail.
rain, man. Dreads absorb the rain, dude. They get the hair gets wet for all heavy. I gotta squeeze it out. Dry it with a towel. What the fuck?
Oh my god! Did we not fucking talk about David Cage? Was that in the past 2 fucking weeks?
I guess it was.
Holy fucking shit. All right. Give me a second.
I mean, like, it's been an ongoing story about how the stupid conditions working at Quantic Dream have caused lawsuits to occur because people were mad uncomfortable, and then in court, it sounds like they were presented with direct quotations of things that he has said.
Oh, did you not read the full articles?
I did, but or at the very least, I read the breakdown of not the full article. I read the breakdown, but like what?
Okay, so I can.
It starts
I'll break
with
it down for you because I read it over and over and over and over. They're suing 2 French newspapers. The 2 French newspapers that reported that their studio is a toxic shithole are being sued by Quantic Dream because they're saying we're not a toxic shithole. How dare you say that we're a toxic shithole? And the newspaper says, fucking bring it on, you pussies. So, 2 things happen. David Cage got onto the stand, and to prove the newspaper's point, the defense attorney for the newspaper said, "Mr. Cage, we got some quotes here from you." And he says, and he goes, "You're interfering with my honor. You're interfering with my business." And he goes, "Well, hold on. Let's go over some quotes of things that you've talked about." Now, these are translations, though I went to the French article myself and read them myself, so I can tell you that these translations are accurate. The number for the first of which is there's a quote from David Cage about all the women in my games are whores. The second is very bizarre, and it's that in the open space there is a lack of tits. My best guess on that is that he is complaining that like the work lounge or like lunch area doesn't have boobs on the walls. That's all I can figure out from that. It's a very bizarre quote. And the fucking king is that Quantic Dream does not make games for, and then he uses the slur for gay people.
The F slur. Yes. So.
The F slur.
Correct.
And upon hearing all of this, he stammered out that they were interfering with his business, stomped his feet, and ran from the courtroom in tears.
Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like an emotion button press prompt.
It sure does.
That sounds like an R1 button to me.
Another one of the things that brought up in the trial is that management knew and was cool with employees photoshopping each other's heads onto porn or Nazi photos and leaving them around the office as a goof. Then they get the CEO of Quantic Dream up there, which is Guillaume de la Fondamière, and they ask him about their hiring and firing practices and note that they are fucky. And when he presented, here's a good example of us firing somebody legally, the defense attorney looked it over and went, there is tons of illegal shit in this. And then they provided more documentation, all of which were copy-pasted firing notices. And they're like, why do these look so fucking sketch? Upon which the CEO looks at the judge and says, well, since I'm not under oath, that means I can lie, right? And just starts making up a bunch of crazy accusation shit about society and people out to get him.
It's good. All in all,
those newspapers are going to be fucking fine, I think.
I mean, those are the realest emotions I've heard in a long time. That's real. Like, they get it. You know? Welcome to Montreal, Quantic Dream.
It is enormously satisfying that we have been calling this fucking idiot out since 2005, way before we started working in this industry. I remember sitting there with you talking about fucking Indigo Prophecy.
Yeah, I think
going, man, this is a bunch of bullshit.
No, I think the first moment that like you like that we kind of you sense something off is him dancing in the training thing, right? With the girl, with the main character in her underwear.
That's the credits.
Okay, then it's her falling in love with Zombie Man and fucking him right away for no reason, despite your best efforts to make it not happen, even if you wanted to.
No, it was the Chinese guy in the library.
Okay, all right. You know what? Fine.
That was the instant in time.
It should have
you
been
were like, ooh.
It should have been Omicron if we were growing chronologically.
If we had known.
But that is some hilarious karmic shit.
It puts so much of it back into a different context, because one of the things that we had all been accused of when we did those LPs is that we weren't giving them a chance, and that we were always assuming the most negative possible interpretation of the direction of those scenes, which has now been confirmed to be completely accurate.
The direction of those scenes led to Elliot Page suing him.
Like every point that you're like, this can't possibly be this creepy or awful or horrible or racist or misogynist or whatever on purpose. No, it was on purpose. It was actually totally on purpose.
So those moments of are you jumping into another person's body to have a weird cuck scene where you fuck the guy's wife inside of the body, and you're like, what is this actually what it appears to be? And it's like, it's absolutely what it appears to be. That's 100% intentional. Every one of those moments of like, is that? Yes, the answer is hard yes, underlined.
Hey, Wooly. Let me ask you a question. You ready for this? What if, are you get ready for this? Black people were robots. Think about it.
I'm going to go to bed on that one. I got to sleep on it. I got to sleep on that one. I really got to.
You know, the what? Oh, God, I think what? Oh, God, I can't remember if it was Feels or Buttons, but point out, you know in Heavy Rain how everyone's like a 3D modeled character that's scanned in from a real person?
Mm-hmm.
Except for one person? Do you remember the one person in Heavy Rain that is not scanned in?
Is it the black guy?
It's the evil black guy!
That's cool.
Do you remember when people accused David Cage of not being super great with gay people, and he started screaming about how he's worked with Elliot Page? How dare they?
Of course.
And everyone was like, that's literally no defense at all. Yeah. It's like,
hey, your kid died. Put a baby in me.
You know, it's incredible because you go back to the LP, of which I think the title card in all of them is Willem Dafoe and Elliot Page sitting there looking like they're going to kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Next to David going, ha, ha, ha. And like, yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been just as shit as you would have expected.
Yes. How dare you? I have gay friends, and my games are not for them.
And, like, I think it's a fairly safe assumption that you can autocomplete any number of phrases you want with any group that you want about any topic that you want if the guy's standing there going, we don't make games for queers. Right? And using the slur in the middle of his office. Right? Like, I can't even imagine the shit that was said behind closed doors when they were making Detroit.
I just want to see.
I can't even fucking imagine.
I just want to see the vertical slice of the game that never got released, where you just go on a rampage in an asylum where just mentally ill people are pouring out like World War Z. You know, just there's the cutting room floor. Anyway,
Sony's gonna drop that fucking company.
Quantic fucking reality. So what?
You know what's great about a Quantic Dream?
Mm-hmm.
It's by its definition, it's an ephemeral thought that exists in both a state of being real and not real simultaneously. So it looks like it's about their turn to become an unreal thought.
It's ephemeral. Yes. Okay. Oh, were they already dropped by Sony? Is that correct?
I don't know about that, but like I feel confident that no one at Sony wants to handle the interview that is, so how come you hired David Cage after all that shit?
Well, but this is the actual superpower, is after every ridiculous release, he somehow managed to get enough power and momentum behind him to just do it again. And the AAA pretty graphics made everyone go like, "Wow, it's so pretty and so thoughtful, amazing game." You know, it tricks your cousin into thinking it's a fucking system seller, and it happens every single time. Maybe the difference though this time being that the character of the man is what's being put up as opposed to the quality of the product. Maybe that'll make a difference. Who knows? But he's managed to fucking slip and escape and make some crazy fucking, bigger project or work on something else every time. So I'm not convinced that this is it. Like, this is not the last.
It's funny because you mentioned we were talking about Genius Kojumbo earlier, and also people have pointed out that Quantic Dream is their own publisher now, so they don't need Sony to gut their back, so they can live in their own world. But you mentioned Genius Kojumbo earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Genius Kojumbo, his face and name and personality and persona have become his studio. Mm-hmm. Right? It's literally Kojima Productions.
Mm-hmm.
David Cage is similar in that respect to Quantic Dream. And I'm just thinking, what would have happened to Metal Gear or Death Stranding if you open up your newspaper and it's Hideo Kojima is guilty of a string of hate crimes? Or got caught eating a baby. Right? That would fuck up those goddamn releases pretty bad.
It would fuck with the brand. You would fuck with the money.
Yeah.
The bag would no longer be secured. But
that's what we're looking at here.
But when we read that interview years ago where that other guy was like, yeah, we're bringing a team of writers and other staff to insulate David.
To dilute him.
To pour more water in on his fucking recipe. It makes it as if it's like, well, this could also be a situation where they can be like, well, we're a studio, he leaves, and then they just keep making games, and then they just do other shit.
I would be so excited to see a Quantic Dream game that David Cage did not work on.
It could absolutely exist. It could go the way, like Itagaki style, where
because
they just
then you get to see
if they want to.
if it's just like the head of the snake or it's all snake. Right? Like, if David Cage leaves and the game comes out and you're like, this is incredible, you're like, wow, it really was him. But if it's exactly the same, you're like, oh wow, it's all of them. They're all like that.
Yeah, but I feel like it is the head of the snake, if only because we've never, like, well, that's not true. That was a blatant lie. I was almost about to say. Like, we've never had complaints on a technical level, but that's insane. But Detroit, the most recent offering, was legitimately technically sound.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was very pretty. It ran really well.
And when you have the ability to make characters and environments like that, and do the things they can do on a technical level, but you just remove the asshole from telling them what to do, then you can get something like Until Dawn, you know? Like, it's just a great, fucking great narrative story. Put it out, no problem. No robots having a dream.
It's just it feels like it's the most satisfied I've ever. How do I put this? You know when you meet somebody and you just know you're an asshole, but you just can't prove it. You just can't quite prove it.
Isn't that what Phoenix Wright is about? Isn't that what we were just discussing?
Kind of is. And you're like, I don't know about this guy. This guy's an asshole. People are like, they're fine. They're fine. You're overreacting. And then they prove it themselves.
I mean, admittedly, the smoking gun
satisfying.
The smoking gun before this was a farting dick and balls, was it not?
It's not a rugby. It's not a rugby cloakroom. They said, as they were not aware of a farting dick and balls on the whiteboard behind them. It's an incredible quote to read in a newspaper article.
And those are the ones that they brought to the courtroom, right? Like, none of those have anything to say about what was said in private meetings behind closed doors and whatever other circumstances. But
yeah, all the quotes that like we described were things that must have been like on the open development floor that like 20 people heard. Not the shit that was in like 3 or 4 person meetings.
If you really want to have a baffling head fuck of a moment, try to think about what someone who's writing these stories about these charged topics on race and fucking like major social unrest and someone who like legitimately writes this way and then also acts and thinks this way and speaks this way and talks this way and is this way. Like, what's the bridge behind your actual messaging then here?
I can tell you right now.
How do you parse these things together?
Right now, I'm going to put words in David Cage's mouth. Words that I have assumed for a long time but always seemed ridiculous and mean even for me about Detroit. Because Detroit is what if black people were robots? Because remember, it's not about race. It's not about civil rights. Right? And all I can think of when I look at Detroit is a guy writing a story, and he wants to write it about civil rights, but he decides to make most of the characters white because he goes, well, nobody will care if it's about actual minorities or black people. I've got to make it about, like, you know, something people will care about, like robots. Like, that's what I assume is going through his fucking head.
You know, this evil spiritual AI is not scary enough. We need to make it Native American.
Oh, man. You want to talk about Indigo Prophecy, we could clear the fucking rest of the day.
We need to put the headdress and on with the feathers, and now it's scary.
That shit's confusing. Like, I feel like if we really broke it down, there'd probably be more outrageous shit in Indigo Prophecy than any of the other games, but it's so legitimately confusing that...
Well, because it like Indigo, like Omicron before it, like, except this takes place on Earth, so they don't have the liberty of just making up like random races and culture,
Magic.
Whatever. Magic, exactly. Like, Indigo gets to just be like, okay, we need a movie trope here to match the emotion of the scene. And if the thing in his head happens to be, I don't know, angels attacking or the apartment attacks you or whatever, then it's like that's what he felt in that moment. But if it happened to be like scary foreigners, you know, if it happened or just like random witches, like it's like whatever fear thoughts he had that morning then just got committed to paper and then to disc. Everything scary to him. You know? Yeah. Anyway, hang it up.
Oh.